The interesting thing is the scorn of the white man now. The white man is terribly scorned. The white Gentile male. Why the white Gentile male? Because it's the white Gentile males who ought to be leading the human race to God, and who aren't doing so. And they've turned liberals, they've turned to their looking after their own interests and no longer God's interests. And therefore, the blacks turn on the whites, the Jews turn on the Gentiles. Well, that's not a new thing, actually. That they've always been doing since Jesus Christ. And the women turn on the men. Because the men are not fulfilling God's mission for them, which is to lead. The whites are not fulfilling God's mission, which is to lead. The Gentiles, the Catholics, are not fulfilling the mission for them, which is to lead, including leading the Jews to God and away from hell, where otherwise the Jews will fall. And so there's a perfect logic in feminism, in racism, and anti-Semitism. And the logic is that those whom God has appointed with a mission to lead their fellow human beings to heaven are not fulfilling that mission. And therefore God is punishing them by the uprising of those that they should be leading against them. And therefore we see what we see today, this fanaticism about racism and anti-Semitism and feminism. And it's all logical. And it's all to do with God. Of course, anything important in human affairs has got to do with God. If it hasn't got to do with God, it's not important. Railroad tracks are not important, etc., etc. All kinds of things are not, all kinds of materialistic things. They're interesting, they're valuable, useful, but they're not important. In the last resort, they're not important. We could maybe better off without railways, better off without milkshakes, better off. You could name all of the inconveniences of modern man, and you could say he could easily be better off without them. Better off without smartphones, better off without radio, better off certainly without television, better off without the internet. Because he would be back to human things, and he might find it easier to find his way back to God, which is all that matters. Because if I don't find my way back to God, I'm surely going to fall into hell. And hell is not fun. St. Paul says it's a terrible thing to fall into the hands of the living God.
Yeah.
And of course it is. God is not mocked, says St. Paul. Modern man thinks he is mocked. Modern man thinks that God is a feeble old uncle who's silly and benign, and you can kick him in the shins, and he doesn't mind. It makes no difference. We can sin as much as you like in this life, and still God will let us into his heaven. That's ridiculous. That's an idea which is sending many, many, many souls to hell.
And that means that the children are growing up out of shape. They've not had a normal mother or a normal father. A father who stands up and takes the hits. That's what men are for, to take the hits and to stand up. The women should not have to stand up. They should be able to lean on their husbands. And the husbands should be able to be leant upon. A Russian proverb. The man is like the stake or the rod, and the woman is like the tomato plant. And the tomato plant climbs up the rod, and the rod is there to stand stiff and to stand straight, pointing at heaven, and to lead his woman, his wife, and his children to heaven. That's what the man is for, to stand straight and stand, to stand for something. not to be a dish rag. The woman she is like the plant. The fruit is the woman, it's the children. The color and the tenderness is the plant, it's the woman.